Hello, welcome back to Far Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on Suzerain. The last time we left off, we created the Women's Rights Commission, promoted Gloria Tori to Vice President, and transferred control of the Gendarmerie to the Ministry of Interior. So, I'm going to go ahead and pick up here. Looks like I missed this little report down here in Benfey, so let's check this out. League of Women extend thanks. The Swordfish League of Women has thanked us for the personal donation. Spokesperson said, President Rain, thank you for your contributions to our cause and to the First Lady Monica who pushed our agenda forward on the national stage. Nice. Yeah, last time we gave what was left of our personal wealth as a donation to the Swordfish League of Women, so that's nice. Alright, briefing on the current healthcare situation. I hope that doesn't mean that we're getting more of a polio pandemic going. He arrived at my office with stacks of papers underneath both arms. Mr. President, he put the mountain of papers on my desk. It made a loud thud sound. I know this seems like a lot. Reviewing it shouldn't take more than a day. Jeez. He measured the pile again. Oh, maybe two. That sounds just great. They contain very important information about the status of our healthcare. Salaries, spendings, hospital reports, whatever you like. We can go through this together. Oh, jeez. Okay, let's begin. He continued. But I don't want to bore you, so I will quickly summarize. Oh, thank God. I breathed a sigh of relief as he put on his reading glasses, looked at the document he was holding. So, we have concluded our report for the year. Thanks to the allocated funds, we've improved the healthcare in the country overall. I've used the resources to begin a comprehensive health reform. We have more patients treated, less waiting times, and higher treatment quality than the years before. That's great to hear. Thank you for your hard work, Pascal. This wouldn't be possible without your wise decision, Mr. President, so thank you. We are certainly on the right path to challenge even Lesbia out of Voxen in that matter, but we're not there yet. However, give it a few more years and we might even surpass them. We need to get to the level of the superpowers. It will take effort, however. If we can stay for another term, I'm sure we will. Moving on. Pascal skimmed the rest of the document before putting it down. The investments we poured into our rural health facilities have paid off greatly. Quality of care increased due to the upgraded equipment, and we were able to hire more healthcare staff. Yeah. Excellent. People in the countryside deserve better health services. Yes, they have been neglected for a long time due to political reasons. Not anymore. All these efforts have resulted in a clear increase of quality in health services provided to our citizens. He cleared his throat. And now that I have given you the short summary, there is a very important matter to discuss. Leaning over to grab his briefcase, he pulled out a tan-colored package. The package was stamped with big red letters that read, Confidential. Pascal opened the package and brought out a few documents. He handed them over to me. I took the documents from his hand. This report from the Ministry of Health. Each page had a stamp on it that read, For President's Eyes Only. The report was titled Polio Outbreak in Bergia. Exactly what I was afraid of. How bad is it? Well, now it seems to be under control. We've put a few villages under quarantine. The total number of infected are currently 1,467. Death toll is at 23 so far. If we have more outbreaks, the results will be terrible. Thankfully, we received the additional funding to our healthcare. This should curb the infection ratio, although I'm afraid even that might not be enough. This is a very serious matter, Mr. President. Lives of Swordfish citizens are at stake. Do whatever it takes to eliminate this threat. With that attitude, I have no doubt we'll succeed in that. We've done our research. There is a cure. Vaccination was recently invented in United Cantana by a doctor, and the formula has been made available for free in the entire world. No matter what people think about United Cantana, if the same thing happened in Acacia, we would be paying the price for it. Thanks to the very good decision made by you to increase the funding for our healthcare, we have the capability to produce this vaccine locally. But I'm afraid simply having the vaccines won't help. We need to make sure they're administered. We need to implement a nationwide mandatory polio vaccination policy. With your order, I can immediately get to work to ensure we are doing whatever it takes. This might seem excessive, however, it is absolutely necessary. Whatever it takes to protect Swordland. Do it. Excellent. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must get to work immediately. He got up from his seat. Thank you for your time, Mr. President. Left my office, leaving me alone with a lot of paperwork to go through. Genius. Alright, bunch of updates again here. Alright. So, we have epidemic prevention measures. Epidemic prevention plan has been initiated. Mandatory vaccination policies. And because we're not idiots and actually, got vaccinated, Ministry of Health has stopped the epidemic from spreading. Our actions prevented a health crisis in Soldon. Alright, and the journal just says we approve mandatory vaccinations. Cool, we've got a couple more reports here, so let's head to Estord. Free medicine. Citizens in Estord have received their first completely free prescription medicine. Some cancer and diabetes patients have expressed how much the measure relieved their finances. A poor family gave an interview thanking the presidency for allowing their parents to live. It is reported that the measure has been successful around the country as well. Yeah, I mean, I realize it puts a slight bit of strain on our already strained government budget, but that'll help the economy quite a lot in the long run. Alright. And protests against gender equality in education. That's not a surprise at all. Sortish housewives have turned out in record numbers to protest the presidential decree ordering gender equality in education. Most of the demonstrations appear to be centered in Anarka, Mayor Curtin Lest's administration providing the protesters with permits and security staff. Sad, but not a shocker in the least. Alright, ooh, wow, a bunch of stuff here from Whole Sword. Let's start with the report. Fair Trade Commission established. The Fair Trade Commission has opened in Whole Sword today and began coordinating with the Central Bank, National Business Council, and the Ministry of Economy to get an analysis of the competition issues and potential regulation legislation. The effort to bring fairness to trade and commerce in Sordland is led by a visionary small business owner who sued Heart of Sordland in an unfair competition bid and won in court. Nice. Okay. Let's look at this less smoke bill, which I've heard absolutely nothing about. The Assembly passes an amendment to the tax bill of 1944 in order to increase tax revenue and reduce the excessive amount of tobacco consumption in the general populace. Section 1 of the TB of 44, which had imposed a 10% tax on all tobacco packages, be increased to 30% on all tobacco products sold in the country. Section 2 will protect local industries by giving them a full tax exemption if the products are destined for export to other countries. Plus one government budget. Well, that's a no-brainer on multiple levels there. We're going to sign it. Extra taxes will help the economy. Or not, because it looks like it dropped one bar, but the budget went up, so whatever, it's fine. Alright, country overview. Looks like welfare again. So tobacco consumption reduced. The tobacco tax increased. Consumption importation of tobacco dropped significantly. This led to an unexpected decrease in lung-related sickness and birth defects around the country. I don't really think that should be an unexpected decrease, but of course, this is also technically like the 50s, and they still had doctors doing cigarette commercials, so whatever. Yeah, so back to the newspapers here from the Whole Sword Post. Time to smoke less. The administration has signed the Less Smoke Bill aimed at increasing tax income for the government and to reduce high tobacco consumption. Tobacco was recently discovered as dangerous to personal health after researchers in United Cantana published an international paper. There have been opposing voices on the increase of the pack of cigarettes, especially foreign ones that are favored by the Sortish. And the Lock-Haven Times, smokes taxed. The GNA passed an amendment to the tax bill of 1944 by increasing the tax by 20% and imposing a tax exemption on local tobacco products destined for transport. President Rain has signed the bill into law, which triggered a dozen complaints from working-class citizens who smoke often. Health officials around the country have praised the discouragement of tobacco with the increased taxes. There is a debate if the administration acted on this to increase taxes, or to reduce public health concerns, or maybe both. No, it's definitely both. We need money, but we also don't need all our people dying. Okay. Now, healthcare spending. There's a significant budget left in the Ministry of Health that we can spend on several different programs in order to improve healthcare in Sorlin further. Funds could be used to create a medical scholarship, build a state-of-the-art medical school, give free eye tests, or dental care. Ooh, that's a tough one. If I don't spend any of that money, I get it back, which would be helpful. But on the other hand, I think it'd be useful to actually continue to invest that money since we've already allocated it. Yeah, we're definitely going to spend it. It's just a question of what. I mean, free eye tests and free dental care would be helpful. But, I mean, a medical scholarship or a better medical school would also be super helpful. We'll start a medical scholarship. Why not? Alright, country overview. And scholarships for health education. New initiative allows thousands of students great scholarship opportunities in health education. I don't know, I feel like that just sounds like the best option because give government-funded scholarships that'll allow some of these, poorer people from rural regions to go get medical degrees. As opposed to just building a giant hospital that only rich people can, get into. Alright. Got another newspaper here, almost missed. Whole Sword Post, new medical scholarship program. Ministry of Health announced a new medical scholarship program created with the assistance of the President to give opportunities for exceptional students at the best medical schools. The program will raise thousands of talented doctors, nurses, and dentists to the workforce in the future. Massive funds set aside was highly praised by Minister Pascal Bennywell. Awesome. Okay. Step back out here to Suzerain. Ah, yes, okay. Support the Ashraf anniversary. The Remembrance Rally at the Ashraf anniversary is about to begin in Suzerain. The British movement is holding their largest rally yet to display their demands and strength. The administration can go to Suzerain to support the event with or without an armored convoy, or not attend it at all. We're just going to attend. I think if we show up with a giant armored convoy, that might send the wrong message, so let's take, well, I assume at any rate we'd have our normal security detail, so that's good enough. Which means, I guess, let's head to this thingy. After making a stop in Deer to meet with Governor of Bergia Felix Braun, we finally arrived in the ancient walled city of Suzerain. More than 2 decades ago, the city gained particular importance for the British people due to the Izam incident, which is the reason for our visit. It is the anniversary of the Izam incident and the death of Watani Ashraf. The event took place in the aptly named Izam Square, just several blocks away from the site of the tragic Izam incident, which currently lays under Lake Seoul together with the ruins of the sunken city. We drove in the presidential Qadiyah as we entered the city's old paved streets between its rundown buildings. Our convoy could barely fit through the narrow streets, disrupting local traffic and creating noisy chaos in this normally tranquil city. Passerby looked upon us with concern as we drove towards the square. How much of a convoy do we have? I must say this was a good decision, sir. This will help ease the tensions. That was my intention all along. As expected. We're almost there. I can hear the crowd. I heard the chants and shouting from the outside, Lucien leaning closer to the window, listening to their voices. They seem to be chanting Yoldak Bluderats. I believe that means free Bluder in Bludish or something of that sort. We approached the large crowd that assembled in the square. There were probably at least 10,000 people. Our vehicle came to a stop. My driver exited the vehicle and opened the door for me. We were greeted by Monsoon Leap. He wore a coat over his suit, which was marked with red and turquoise stripes of the British movement's flag. He moved forward to greet us. I know this dude had a voice, but he was only in, one episode for a couple lines, so whatever. Welcome to Suzerain, Mr. President. Let's just shake his hand. We shook hands. Mr. Leek. Mr. Collard, welcome. Shall we move into the sanctuary then? Let's go. We started making our way into the Suzerain sanctuary, which stood at the end of the square. A much smaller replica of the Arch Sanctuary in Deer. This building emanated a mystical aura due to its age and its blackened walls. We entered the building through the ornamented large metal gates. As we walked, the noise of the crowd started to fade out. Everyone started to get quiet for the ceremony. Thousands of candles were burning inside the sanctuary, one for each person that died in Ism. The red candle at the center was for Watani Ashraf. Monsoon gestured towards the candles. Why would I want to pick up a candle? Oh, apparently I was supposed to pick up a candle. Well, whoopsie doodle. Oh well, I did not pick a candle. Instead, I let Monsoon lead the way. His face soured. He picked up the candle for Ashraf and started walking out. Many others followed suit, including us. Okay, well that makes sense. I wish they'd, said why I was picking up a candle. Oh well. The atmosphere outside had completely changed. The crowd was now completely silent. We slowly walked towards Ashraf's grave. On the way, hundreds of people joined with us. Noticing no candles in my hand, someone from the crowd shouted at me, breaking the silence. Have respect for the dead. Yeah, see, I didn't know that I was supposed to do that. I ignored the man and kept walking. When we arrived, Monsoon lit the unlit candle above the grave. I turned around and realized the sheer amount of people who were following us. They were all looking at me, waiting to hear what I would say. 3 people of Bludia. We are here to mourn Watani Ashraf and many others who have lost their lives. I'm not standing before you today as the president. I'm standing here as one of you. Let's see. Despite the attempts to divide us, our people will stand as one. We are Sword, we are Blued. We are all united under the one flag. An old man from the crowd yelled, "He is right." Let me tell you one thing. I dream of a Swordland, a truly united Swordland, a country where being a Blued or a Sword does not matter. Let's see, let's try this bottom one. Mistakes were made in the past. Innocent people of Ism paid the price, but we cannot let the past divide us. Responsibility falls on all of our shoulders, because we don't have anyone but each other. Yolak Bluderot. There's no reaction from the crowd, only silence. Monsoon leaning closer to me. I must admit, Mr. President, that was a good speech. I hope the crowd thinks the same. He extended his hand to me for a handshake. As we shook hands, the crowd started to clap. Thank you for this, Mr. President. I don't think the people of Erzurum will ever forget this. You have become the first and only president who is brave enough to come to Erzurum and pay respects for the Ism victims. I hope this will be the start of a new era. Thank you. Lucian rushed near me. Sir, it's time to go. We started making our way back to the convoy. Well done, sir. This will prove very useful in the upcoming elections. I still feel kind of bad about not taking a candle, but I didn't know I was supposed to take one. That's okay. What's the rush? The whole trip runs on a schedule, sir. The convoy needs to start driving now, or else we won't make it back in time. That's fair enough, I guess. We entered our vehicles and started making our way back home from Erzurum. Okay, well, aside from one accidental little faux pas there, because I had zero clue that I was supposed to walk out with a candle, I'd say that went well. I think I'm just going to keep harping on that, but that's okay. I just figured it was like the candles you see in churches that are just like sitting there lit for victims, but that's okay. Anywho, back to the newspaper here from the Radical, Brotherhood of the People. President Rain surprised the country with his attendance at the Ashraf anniversary. He joined the vigil alongside Monsoon Leak on the day Sordlin remembers Watani Ashra, delivered a heartfelt speech that resonated among the crowd. We hope that his words won't just stay his words. Long live Brotherhood of the People. Awesome. Okay. Briefing on the current political situation. That could go so many different directions. I walked to the White Room with a cup of coffee in my hand. My vice president had scheduled a meeting on the current political situation. I opened the door and entered the room. Gloria immediately stood up. Good morning, Mr. President. Yeah, morning. I wanted to provide you some quick updates on the current political situation. Pulled out a few documents from a briefcase and laid them on the table. Mr. Hull has reported to me that he is currently putting the finishing touches on his new economic plan. He said he wanted to solidify the plan before it's presented to you. He'll schedule a meeting soon to go over our options. Yeah, Simon can pull it off, I'm sure. He's never failed me before. Mr. Hull knows what he's doing. I'm sure he'll deliver as well. She closed the folder and put away the documents. Next step on the docket? Next, it's time to talk about our election prospects. There's a sharp, soft knock on the door. I hope it's all right with you that I've invited Mr. Gallard to this portion of the meeting. Why wouldn't it be? I'm not sure. It's felt rather tense around here lately. I'll let him in. Gloria went to get the door. Lucien walked in. Mr. President, Ms. Vice President. If Lucien still resented my choice of Vice President, he didn't show it. His tone was nothing but cordial and professional. The three of us sat down. Gloria handed out a new set of documents. Mrs. Torrey, I'll let you take the lead on this. Gladly, Mr. Gallard. I've just received the results of a voter poll commissioned by Peter Vectrin shortly before his, shall we say, departure. So you put it in plain language, it's not great. Bad, even. The SP stands to lose up to 20% of the vote compared to last time around. Oh, tell it to me straight. Do we still have a chance? We still have a year to gain more votes, but we've got to think strategically. Which, presumably, is why you've retained the services of your chief strategist. You have something to add, Lucien? No, pardon the interruption. Gloria shuffled some pages around. Looking at the demographics of the voters pooled, you've fallen out of favor with conservatives. Less than half of them are likely to vote for you. The liberal base appears divided, but you do have a considerable number of supporters there. For better or worse, you certainly aren't popular with nationalists. Who wants to be popular with nationalists? If you ever had any support from socialists, you've completely lost it now. Unsurprisingly, none of the British poll respondents said they were planning on voting for you. Lastly, you can't expect votes from centrists and unaffiliated voters unless we do something to win them over. So, what do you suggest? Listen, I'm aware I was selected as vice president, at least partly because of my access to the USP's conservative wing. I can give you some insight into gaining more conservative votes if you wish. Yeah, go ahead. I will say that your actions against Talking Soul will cost you a part of the base you won't be able to get back. Nodding towards soulism in your future policies might help, or it might be too little too late. This Women's Rights Commission of yours, I did warn you against moving too fast on that front. Giving women's rights activists everything they want at once is guaranteed to scare conservatives off. You didn't warn me about shit, lady. You weren't my vice president when I made that decision. This civil unrest that I've been hearing about since I took office, it needs to end. With a big show of force if possible. Conservatives like a scare country. They also like to beat up on minorities. If all else fails, fall back on Sworden's military might. I am personally not a fan of jingoism, but it works in certain segments of the base. Yeah, that's definitely the right way to do this. Is just send in the military to beat up civilians. I'm not gonna pander to flag-waving mouth breathers. Anyway, that's my advice for what it's worth. Thank you, Gloria. Lucien, your thoughts? Lucien smiled and bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Mr. President. This may sound like common sense, but a convincing enough campaign can succeed where policies fail. Even if you've opted not to focus on your campaign at the moment, I'd still advise you to seize every chance for exposure that you can. I'll take that into account. Good. One more thing. There is a not insignificant portion of undecided voters who don't care who occupies the Maroon Palace as long as the economy is running smoothly. Propping up the economy just ahead of the election is a surefire way to win them over. It's all on Simon, then. Partly, yes. Our country seems to be stable so far, but we should avoid further crisis if we want to come out of this gem strong. There are some worrying news. The Lothar group is up to something. My informants have been talking about frequent meetings happening between the oligarchs. This covers most of it. Great. I've heard enough. Gloria, is that all for today?
Yes, that's everything on my end.
Good work, both of you. I'll see you shortly. I left the room to attend my next meeting. Okay, well, looks like we have a couple things here to look at before that next meeting. So let's head back to Suzerain. Polio disease is controlled inside the Berger region. Ministry of Health, Pascal Beniwal has submitted a heartening report. It states that the polio disease is controlled inside of the Berger region. He stated that we had flattened the curve of infection within the Berger region, and with the mandatory vaccine, it would be hard for the disease to spread into other regions within the country. Nice. And newspapers, Whole Sword Post. Government-imposed mandatory vaccine policy. The administration has imposed that everyone in the country has to be vaccinated against polio disease. The disease barely claimed more or less 1,000 people in Berger. Why is it necessary for the whole country to spend our hard-earned rent for something that is nowhere near us? The disease is spreading from Valen to Berger. It seems that those illegal immigrants from Valen not only caused chaos to our society, but also brought with them deadly diseases. As such, it is more than clear that the solution to this problem is to completely quarantine the entirety of Berger and increase our border control. Instead, President Rain is forcing everyone to pay for something we don't currently need. That is definitely some good right-wing bullshit propaganda. Just blame the immigrants and tell science to go screw off. I like it. From the Radical, the president's decisive action stops polio in its track. Polio disease, which was spreading wildly in Valen, has crossed over to the Berger region. However, thanks to the administration's foresight, large quantities of vaccines have been secured and mandatory vaccine policies implemented to combat the sickness. The Minister of Health, Pascal Beniwal, has delivered a statement to compliment President Anton Rain on his decisive actions, which led to the ongoing preventative measures. Yeah, I mean, polio is a messed up disease. Why would we just, say screw it and let everybody catch it? Alright, anyway, briefing on the increasing unrest among populace. Lilius entered my office and took a seat. She was frowning intensely. She didn't talk at first, just fixed me with a steady gaze. When she did speak up, it was in strained tones.
Mr. President, we have a problem.
Go on.
This just came in. Here, take a look.
I took the document from her hands and started reading it. The report was titled Protests in Major Cities. I looked up immediately after reading the title. Lilius gave a grim nod of confirmation.
Protests have been erupting all over Sorlin. They are protesting you, Mr. President. They're asking for your resignation. I can't say this is unexpected.
Change doesn't come easy. There's always a cost.
Yes, and we have a duty to keep that cost as low as possible. Carl Greiser is on his way here right now. He'll tell us what he knows so far.
Just then, there's a loud knock on the door. Carl came in without waiting for an answer. He was clearly out of breath.
Ah, there he is.
He saluted me. Just salute him back. Why not?
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm so sorry for being late. Carl, I already informed the President of the situation. Do you have any updates? As you know, protests have been popping up around Solar cities. They seem to be peaceful, for now. 2 people fell off a truck, and that seems to be about it. However, there is potential for these protests to turn violent. The main rhetoric they all share is that they're demanding the President's resignation.
There is freedom of speech in this country. They can say whatever they want.
I'm afraid they might start doing more than just saying things. What does a protester profile look like? We have investigated the various groups involved in the protests and compiled a list of their complaints. I'll go through it.
Pulled out a document from the folder he was carrying.
The majority of the protests are about the state of the economy. Thanks to the media, we're under fire for showing support at the Ashraf anniversary. In addition, there are many provocateurs that are not tied to any specific organization or cause. We need to take action, Mr. President, immediately. Protesters may be peaceful now, but any spark of violence might snowball into something I don't even want to think about. Your orders, Mr. President.
They're peaceful, you said it yourself. I'll speak with them and listen to their demands.
As you command, Mr. President. We'll try to reach out to the spokesperson. I think you're playing with fire, Mr. President. Let's hope you don't burn yourself.
I mean, I'm not going to send in the military to go start beating civilians up. I already said this.
If you'll excuse us, Mr. President, we have work to do.
Dismissed.
Come on, Carl, we're leaving.
Lilius hurriedly left the room. Carl bowed to me.
Mr. President.
He followed after her. Nice, okay. So we have a Security Act and an Industrial Expansion. So let's take a look at the Security Act here. The lack of security due to the period of social upheaval calls for drastic measures proposed by the majority of the GNA. Section 1 of the SA allows the use of force whenever deemed necessary. Section 2 orders that suspicion-based arrests and confiscations can occur without warrants. Section 3 allows security forces to use their authority beyond the legal limits that are permissible, if it ensures maintaining state security and, by extension, the general public. Okay, nice. Alright, so basically the cops can just go start killing people and arresting them with no reason. We're going to veto that. And industrial expansion. Oh boy, okay. This is going to be expensive. Minister Hull and Monge have prepared a massive industrial expansion plan that could support several key industries in the country through state investments. Sutherland could become much more competitive and a hub for new industries with this initiative. Oh boy, okay. It's going to be costly, but we're going to go ahead and invest in the electronics industry, because why not? That budget does not make me happy, but that's okay. Yeah, one more newspaper here. Government dedicates investment to electronics. Sutherland to invest in the future with a massive push for the new electronics industry that is rising in importance all around the globe. Many companies formed by Gilsord researchers are going to be funded with government support to ensure that the electronics industry in Sutherland grows to its potential. Some experts even dare to say a technological revival awaits the nation after this bold move. Experts in the country praised Arcasia United Cantana on their dedication to investing in electronics, and also extended their commendations to the Reign administration for economically advocating such measures. Will Sutherland manufacture its very own radio soon? It might now be possible to think of such a reality. Yeah, I didn't really want to spend money, but Sam, that could potentially have a big impact on our economy going forward. Was it worth the risk? I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Alright, now our country review, we got a health reform thing here. The health reform aims to better the health services provided while adding new free care for the citizens in need. I have a feeling that might have been there before and I just didn't click it. And then Electronics Industry Expansion Program. The program offers up to 10,500 Ren per person to support entrepreneurs and aspiring students in the field. At the same time, we'll be assisting them with training, materials, manpower, and reimbursing up to 70% of the cost for all equipment needed. Stupid expensive, but it's a risk and I'm hoping will pay off. And I guess we'll see if it does pay off or not next time. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and hope to see y'all next time.